This week on the Harris Highlight Show, we give our thoughts on the newly released college football playoff rankings. And also, we have a surprise guest in studio to give his pick'ems. All that and more on the Harris Highlight Show.
Na 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 na.
Coming to you live from downtown Phoenix on the Arizona State campus, this is the Harris Highlight Show, episode number 6. Now, gentlemen, this is going to be a very, very, very exciting episode because finally, after long weeks of waiting, we finally have the first of the year college football playoff rankings, and there's a lot to discuss. Now, feelings might be hurt, friendships might be ruined, but hey, that's our job because we got to discuss what happened tonight. The top 25 came out, and there has been some controversy that's been all over social media this week, but we're going to get into that a little later in the show, unless you want to jump into it right now. Josh, I'm looking at you, so you get the first say in what you think of these top 25 rankings.
So I think the biggest question, and I think the main point that we're all going to touch on, is the fact that Washington's at number 5. So this is something that I've been saying for a long time, is Washington, I personally don't think they have the talent to be in the college football playoff. However, they are 8-0. How do you not have them in the top 4? How do you not have them over Texas A&M? That's something that I don't understand. Although, if this is not the college football ranking, if this is the AP poll or whatever we've been talking about the last few weeks, I would totally agree with putting Washington at 5 or even 6. But the fact that we are down to the first college football playoff rankings and Washington is not in the top 4, it just baffles me. So, of course, there's still a lot of football left to be played. So, of course, I'd say half of this is going to change, but I just don't understand why Washington is 8-0 and is at 5.
Yeah, I have the same problem. So Bama at 1 is obviously well-deserved. They've been the best team in the country by far. But my 2, 3, 4 is where I start to get a problem. So you have Clemson at 2. Like I've mentioned week after week, they almost lost against Troy. A made 30-yard field goal by NC State would have knocked them out of the top 4, and we'd be talking about, we wouldn't be sitting here talking about Clemson right now because they'd be down at like 7 or 8 had the NC State kicker made that field goal. Then you have Michigan at 3. Some people are going to say, okay, they've had some marquee wins because now Penn State is at 12. I mean, I thought that was a little too high for them, but that's why now Michigan's at 3 is knowing the selection committee by now, they take strength of schedule into account very, very much. But again, a 7-point win over Wisconsin that was like 14-7 game. Big win over Penn State, who I think is a little overrated. Too high for Michigan. But then you get to A&M, they got steamrolled by Bama. And right now, what the selection committee is saying, by putting A&M at 4, is if the college football playoff were to happen today, A&M would not have to play an SEC championship game because Bama's leading the SEC East, and they would be set up to play Bama again. And they lost 33-14 in the first game. Whereas you have UW, who's taken care of every single team they've played so far, beaten some tough teams in Colorado and Utah, and them being at 5 over A&M and maybe even some of these other teams, I have a problem with. I don't know about you guys.
The thing that I'd like to touch upon is that when the rankings came out and I saw Texas A&M was ranked 4th, my first question is, why?
Your texts were hilarious.
Why on earth are the Aggies 4th? And I heard that from the guys who voted upon this said that Texas A&M had a deeper and tougher schedule than Washington. And even with that being said, I still think the record stands more than toughness. I think the 8-0 of the unbeaten stands more above Texas A&M and their schedule. You're still 8-0.
No, I agree.
I understand that, but to the people who voted and ranked A&M over Washington, I think record stands over
at this point
schedule.
For sure. At this point, I for sure agree with you 100%. But then, I don't have a problem with 2 and 3 because I think Clemson and Michigan, I think they're kind of interchangeable right now because, of course, a lot's going to change. But then with Clemson, my thing with Clemson is they beat Auburn, who is a good football team. They beat Louisville, whether that one play would have gone a different way, that still doesn't change the outcome of the game with that one play. But those are two big wins right there. Their game against NC State, they won by 7, and then they just beat Florida State last week. And so I think Clemson is all deserving of a number 2 ranking, whether or not you switch them with Michigan. Texas A&M I just don't like them at the number 4 spot. So I agree with you. At this point, that 8-0 record speaks for itself, and there's no reason why they shouldn't be at the number 4 spot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm going to say this as I don't know how, as not objective as I can. Who the hell cares? It's the first week of the rankings. You have 6 more weeks of the season. You have a lot more time. I'm saying this right now, 5 to 7 of the teams that are in here, just looking at this list, will not finish in the top 25.
Of course not.
5 to 7, at least.
Now, I actually, as soon as I saw that A&M was ranked 4th above Washington.
And that shows they have a lot of room to move.
Oh, yeah, they do. They do. And I think Washington fans shouldn't be panicking either. But you
Still
go...
control their own destiny.
Oh, yeah, of course. When I first saw that A&M was ranked where they were, the first thing I did was I went on Twitter, and I went to trending, and sure enough, Texas A&M. So I click on that, and I start reading the tweets. And an A&M fan tweeted saying, "Here's the thing, everybody. Let's be real, we should not be at number 4. However, with the way that our schedule is set up and the way that other teams' schedules are set up, right now A&M still has to play at Mississippi State, home against Ole Miss, at home against Texas San Antonio, and home against LSU, which is manageable." And he also talked about the teams that they needed to lose, one of them being UW. And you look at UW, and the Huskies still have to go to Cal. They have to host USC at home. They have to host ASU, and then they have to go to Washington State for the Apple Cup. So the 2 games that stand out to me the most are USC and Washington State. So those are 2 games that could easily go either way with the way that USC and Washington State are playing right now. And the way that the Pac-12 is, you can't hand them a win for going to California, and you can't just hand them a win for ASU. Now, I'm not trying to be biased, but Cal is a team that can surprise people, just like they did to Utah. And Arizona State is a team that's probably going to be back at full strength by the time they head up to Seattle. So if they are, that's another team you can't just hand UW a win for, because that's the way the Pac-12 is. So with Washington, yes, their schedule is manageable, but they still do have a few games that are going to raise some question marks.
I want to propose a question, and I know we're still a long way away from this. There's a ton of football left to be played, but I think it's just kind of an interesting discussion to have. Like I mentioned earlier, I said right now A&M is set up to be in the playoffs without playing a conference championship game due to them being behind Bama. If Washington wins the Pac-12 and A&M doesn't lose another game, If Washington wins the Pac-12 and goes undefeated, but A&M doesn't lose another game, should UW really be left out over A&M? I don't think so.
I'm just going to get in this really quickly here because I have yet to give any opinions on my top 4 whatsoever, how they look. This is the deal. Texas A&M at 4 is an absolute joke. Regardless of strength of schedule, regardless of who they're playing, regardless of anything, Washington, we're not the biggest fans, but they've earned that top 4 spot. They've gone undefeated. I think they've exceeded expectations by far, and they, without a doubt, deserve it. Now, Clemson. I haven't given Clemson hate, but I have not been as appreciative as I should have been. They have the most wins currently versus top 25 teams. They got a good win at Auburn, which at the time, Auburn came out of nowhere. They're ranked 9 now. That's another topic for discussion later. At Auburn, which I said is a tough place to win, they got the win there. They've had a lot of close wins. Troy, as we've mentioned, Georgia Tech, Louisville, another questionable game, but they got the win against Louisville. And this past week, I said Florida State was going to get the win. They came close, but they won. Regardless of if you win by 1 point or 50 points, you're still winning, and they're winning against the best teams there are. You could make an argument that they should be over Bama, although Bama has been more dominant. When you look at Bama's schedule, they have a win against SC, who I think SC right now is deserving of a top 25 spot, but again, that's another topic. But Western Kentucky, Ole Miss, who's trash, Kent State, Kentucky, Arkansas, Tennessee, A&M, those are all good wins. You can honestly make a good argument that Clemson should be over Alabama, not as the better team, but just schedule-wise, you could. Michigan's just been a dominant force. I like them at 3, but I think it's an absolute travesty that Washington cannot be in there.
I think the big thing the reason Texas A&M is at 4, it's not the strength of schedule, because whether you're playing in the SEC or the Pac-12 like UW, 2 of the top conferences in all of football, obviously. You're going to have a hard schedule no matter who you play every year. I think what it is, and I've been saying this since day one, is how many primetime games have you been turning through ESPN, ABC, whatever, and seen Texas A&M playing in? Almost every week. UW, I've seen them probably 2 or 3 times. And that's
We're
the big
on the
thing.
West Coast,
yes.
too, and I think I've seen UW
And-
play a full game. I've watched a full UW game probably 3 times.
And that's the thing that hurts them the most is the way that people pick the top 25 for this. Yes, it's by the skill. Yes, it's by the schedule. But it's also about how publicized this team is. And they're going to make a big story. Getting Texas A&M at 4 is that big story of this whole list.
And even if you're putting Texas A&M at 4, why isn't Louisville or Ohio State in contention?
The thing that you said about, was it 2008 you thought it was? When the explosion of...
When they really started getting good, yeah.
2008, Washington was 0-12.
Yeah.
Before 2010, their last 500 win season, like percent, 50%, whatever you want to call it, whatever, was 2003.
Well, UW, the last
They were
20
terrible.
years have been not even. Weren't they like 7-5 last
They
year?
were 7-6 last year.
They were
8-6 the year
7-6
before,
last
9-4 in 2013.
How Chris Peterson is being Chris Peterson, and he's turning this program around. It doesn't matter how long it's gonna last, but right now it's working. Whatever they're doing with Jake Browning, with Myles Gaskin, with with the team that they have.
And that great defense.
Yeah, they have a great defense. They're 8-0. I know a lot is going to change, but you guys know me. I am not a big Washington lover this year, and at this point, I'm still like they've earned my respect, but I'm still not. They still won't. I don't think they're going to make the playoff. So I'm not all completely sold on UW, but they've proved me wrong for the most part. And even I'm saying, how can an 8-0 team like Washington not be in the top 4?
I'm going to touch now on what Brady said earlier, and I kind of like what he said. Who cares?
Yeah.
Like, this is the very first playoff ranking, and it doesn't mean anything. But so I have their upcoming schedules in front of me. I think Washington ends up, when it's all said and done, they do make it. Looking at Alabama right off the bat, they have a tough one at LSU this week, which I can't see Alabama going down to because that LSU-Bama game is always a tough matchup. And LSU, ever since Coach O has been running the tables, they have looked good. And now they have, and the scary thing about Alabama, LSU has a healthy Leonard Fournette now.
He's played well.
It's in Death Valley. So Alabama has a tough schedule. Home against Mississippi State the next week. Chalk up the W.
Here we go.
Next week, after that, the 19th, they're going to face Chattanooga, which already is going to be another L for them. So right off the bat, that's 2 potential L's. I know what they say, and you don't sleep on Chattanooga because they're coming. That's going to be a tough matchup. And then the very last week of the season, the Iron Bowl versus Auburn, which is another tough matchup. So, guys, out of these 4 games, I could see Alabama losing 3 of them. You guys laugh at me, but they can lose 3 of them. So
You're going to lose to the Mocs.
So Alabama can go down, which could lead to everything changing. Clemson, Syracuse, Pitt, Wake Forest, South Carolina, they're winning out, and they're most likely going to win the ACC championship. Clemson's going to be in the top 4 when it's all said and done. Michigan, their only tough remaining game is against Ohio State. Now, I know we were talking earlier in the previous shows whether or not Ohio State or Michigan, if both of them can be in. Both of those teams are not going to be in the top 4. It's going to be one or the two. So
because Penn State beat Ohio State now.
Yeah. So it's going to be one of those 2 teams. Texas A&M, they have a cakewalk. Is it cakewalk? Did I get it right this time?
Yes.
They have a cakewalk of a schedule. The only tough game they have is at the end of the year versus LSU, which can be a tough game as well. So they can lose that game.
I was going to say, Ole Miss is a tough game.
Well, it's versus Mississippi. I mean, Ole Miss. I mean, it could be tough, but
they're SEC.
Yeah, but then also the fact that Texas A&M is not going to have that chance to be in the SEC championship, that's going to hurt them like crazy. And then when you go to Washington, as you mentioned, I personally believe that SC game is going to make or break Washington. If Washington beats USC, there's no way they lose to Arizona State. As much as I hate to say it, they can't, and Washington State. But if they lose to USC, well, first off, they lose to USC, they're done.
Yeah.
Like there's no way they can make it back. So I think honestly, pretty much if Washington wins out, they have nothing to worry about. Clemson has nothing to worry about. I would just be worrisome if I were these teams. And Ohio State at number 6, as long as they can beat Michigan, then they're in it. So going back to Brady, it doesn't matter now. There's plenty of games to be played, plenty of different things to happen. But I guess we're just going to see how it goes. But there you go.
Can you see 3 undefeated teams going into the playoffs? Because, I mean, you kind of just said that for that to happen.
It's going to be Clemson without a doubt.
Honest to God, I can see Alabama close out and go undefeated.
Well, I could see Alabama going out too. I'm just saying they have a I think Alabama probably has the toughest schedule in college football left. I mean, would you say that Alabama has the most difficult schedule remaining?
They're also the most powerful team in the country.
Yeah.
So even with that being said, I mean, Alabama, I can see them close out and win out. Clemson, they don't have a hard schedule. Michigan, last game, comes to Ohio State and then Washington. I mean, it could be crazy, but we can have 4 undefeated teams in the playoffs.
I know, but a lot of these teams do. I mean, I don't think they have cakewalks. I think I don't really know whose is more difficult at the moment. But you look at Alabama; they still got to go to they got to go to LSU this week, and then they close out with Auburn in the Iron Bowl. You look at Clemson; they're fine. Michigan has a game against Ohio State, last game of the season, and then you go down and you look at UW. UW still has USC and Washington State, which are 2 big games. But then even Ohio State has to host Nebraska, and then they host Michigan. So although home field advantage is huge in the Big Ten, like Brady's been saying every week, it's still Nebraska and it's still Michigan who are going to pose threats. So I think there are a lot of, like every team I just mentioned, I don't think there's any major cakewalks in the top 10 except for Clemson.
And really, 60 though, before Lyle gets in, we've been talking about the top 6 teams. Are there any teams outside of the top 6 that you think can squeeze on in and make it in there? We got Louisville at 7, Wisconsin at 8, Auburn at 9, 10 Nebraska. Do you think any of those 6 through 10 teams can say, hi, we're in the top 4?
I'm going to jump back to what Josh said for a quick second, then I'll answer yours. I think in looking at it, we've been talking about the Big Ten a lot because they're the most prominent conference right now. Wisconsin at 8, their remaining schedule could be one of the easiest.
Yeah.
At Northwestern versus Illinois, at Purdue, and then versus Minnesota.
There's just no way
the 2 losses are going to
But exactly.
Yeah. And they can't make it into the Big Ten championship game at all, so that's going to hurt them too.
But
that
still,
win against Nebraska was huge, though.
But you said the remaining schedule. I think they have the easiest remaining schedule in that top 10. But of the chances of getting to one of the big playoffs is exactly what you said.
But I do think they have a better chance than, say, Louisville, because all Louisville has pretty much is Houston, and we've seen now that Houston is not the team we all thought they were. So at least Wisconsin, they have a win over Nebraska, and they have close games against Michigan and Ohio State. So personally, I think Louisville, there's no way that Louisville cracks the top 4. As much as we hate to see it, no Lamar Jackson, I think Louisville, they have no chance in the top 4.
And then you look at Florida. I'm not a huge fan of Florida, to be totally honest. I haven't watched too much of them this year. But at 6-1, I think they still have a chance to get in too, because you look at their last few games, they have South Carolina, and then their last 2 games are at LSU and at Florida State. So assuming they win both of those, and they win them not handedly, but like reassuringly, so that everyone can hop back on that Florida boat, then I think that
and they'll be in the SEC championship as well, because they're leading their division as well.
Yeah, they're in the East, but Bama's going to steamroll them in my opinion.
Yeah, I think so too.
In looking at these remaining schedules, because when Josh brought it up, it made me go look at almost all these teams' remaining schedules. One of the toughest one is we see who's ranked at number 14 right now is Oklahoma. They play Iowa State this week, who is 1-7.
Yeah.
Who is god-awful. In their last 3 games are against 3 ranked opponents. Baylor, West Virginia, Oklahoma State.
Oh, boy.
If they could win out, that could be a major jump for an Oklahoma team.
But the fact that they don't have a conference championship,
that's the one thing that holds them back.
That is the one thing that will keep them out of the playoff. If they had a conference championship still scheduled, what are they at, 15? They're where are
14.
they?
But they're a 2-loss team.
They're a 2-loss team.
Yeah.
Say that they were a 1-loss team. Obviously, I'd still put them probably at like 10. I mean, you can't do what ifs. But if they were a 1-loss team, and then they could theoretically win those last 3 games, without a doubt, they're in the playoff picture. However, since they don't have a conference championship, I still wouldn't guarantee.
And being
them
at
a spot.
14, that is to jump 10 spots. That is.
I'm not saying you said which teams outside the top 10 could jump to the top 10.
I easily could see them jumping to 8 or 7, but it would just be very tough to put them over, especially like an undefeated team, especially with 2 losses. That could hurt. But I did like what you said about Florida, because I think they probably at number 11. They probably, I think, have the best shot at. I mean, they control their own destiny pretty much at this point.
Doesn't every team?
Very well said. Very well said. All right, so we've discussed pretty much the top 10. Let's get to more of teams in the bottom half that we feel are overrated and underrated. I'm going to start things off. Penn State at 12. They did have they had a very nice win against Ohio State. But let's take a look at their schedule, shall we? A win at Kent State, good for you guys. They lost to Pitt. They beat Temple by a touchdown. They got absolutely embarrassed by Michigan. They beat Minnesota by 3. A good win against Maryland by about 20. They, of course, got the 3-point win against Ohio State and then a win at Purdue. How is this team ranked 12?
Overrated.
Question.
Uh,
Wasn't it last week where we were saying they were underrated?
They were underrated at 24. Like, I was thinking maybe like 19-ish, maybe 18 giving them. But giving them the 12 rating. And like I said, so they have wins against... I mean, who's their second best win aside from Ohio State? Would you say Maryland?
Yeah.
Like, and I am just completely in shock by that. Like I said, I thought they were underrated last week, but that is completely ridiculous.
They're going to finish in the top 10.
They probably will because they have Iowa, Indiana, Rutgers, and Michigan State. They're probably going to win out and go 10-2, but I think they're overrated. Another team I want to touch up on is Oklahoma at 14. They lost against Houston, first week of the season, who's shown not to be a good team. Then you just look at the rest of their schedule. They lost to Ohio State, beat TCU by 6, beat Texas by 5, beat Texas Tech by 7, and then wins against Kansas State and Kansas. They have no convincing wins this year, and yet they're at 14 with 2 losses. As Brady mentioned, they do have their huge games coming up the rest of the season, but we could see how those play out if they were ranked a little lower. But I think 14 is a very generous ranking for a team that has, in all honesty, no convincing wins.
Totally agree.
I agree.
My team is Baylor at 17 is way too low in my opinion. These guys were just in the top 10. They were just undefeated, and they had a 1-point road loss at a very, very hostile environment in Austin, and for that they dropped all the way to 17. I don't agree with that.
But then you also really look at Baylor's schedule and who they've beaten. Northwestern State, SMU, Rice, Iowa State, Kansas, and Oklahoma State, who's the best team. They won by 10. So their strength, and they got their good games coming up too with Oklahoma, West Virginia, but they don't have any convincing wins either.
Yeah, I like Baylor, but I think putting them at 17 is a little bit low for being a one-loss team, but they still haven't played anyone. Their best win is Oklahoma State, and they're not a great team.
They've fallen low. And that for them to fall at 17 is low in my opinion.
Also, really quick though, we didn't touch on them earlier. You were speaking about undefeated teams. Western Michigan at 23, I think, is a joke. Regardless of who they play, they are undefeated. And I think they fell. In the AP poll, I want to say they were 17th, and they dropped 6 spots. Boise State, who was undefeated coming into this week, they were ranked, I think, as high as, I want to say, 11th or 12th. They lost to Wyoming, and they fell to 24, just 1 spot behind Western Michigan, who's undefeated. Like, what do you guys think about Western Michigan at 23?
I think it's right where they should be because, like we said, they don't play anybody. If you put them up against 13th ranked LSU, do you think that's even a 10, 20-point game? Even I think LSU would kill them if they played each other. I don't think they should just I don't think they'd be anywhere near the top.
You do
10.
say who do they play? They have a win at Northwestern, who I don't know how well you guys know. Northwestern has one of the best defenses in the Big Ten. They, like you saw against Ohio State. Ohio State could barely beat them, so that's a very good win. At Illinois, another Big Ten team that's not as good, but that's winning at a Big Ten team. At Central Michigan, Oklahoma State went down to Central Michigan, and they beat them by 39 points. And then you got to win against NIU, Eastern Michigan, and Akron. So people think that they're playing, cream of the crowd. They're not playing crappy teams. They're playing somewhat decent competition, and they are smoking them. Like, they are smoking their competition.
They also beat Ball State.
Yeah, but I mean,
52-20. Granted, Ball State is Ball State, whatever you want to say, the pride of Muncie. Go Indiana, I guess. But, I mean, I like them at 23. I think that's right where they should be. I think, like we've talked about, it's theirs to prove. Is if they're going to stay in that top 25, win some games. They have what's the remaining schedule look like? Let's check this out real quick.
I got it right here. They got Kent
too.
State, Buffalo, and Toledo. They're going to win out easily.
Their toughest one of that is Buffalo, because Buffalo is always a decent defensive team. They might not have the best offense, but they're always a decent defensive team. That'll be the only thing slowing them down. I think Western Michigan doesn't finish any higher than 14th.
Oh, I think so too, because at 23, there's only so much they can move, especially with the teams they play. But I think it would have been nice to see a Western Michigan team be kind of like the Cinderella of the year, especially get to a New Year's Six Bowl, which
no chance though.
They have no chance, and who knows if they would have put up somewhat competition. But the year they're having, the greatest in their program's history, I think they deserve way more love than what they're getting.
Can I pose a question now? What about Colorado? Because in my opinion, they have one good win. Granted, it was against Arizona State, and it was 40-16. but that Arizona State team was rattled by injuries at that point already. Am I wrong in saying their best win was Arizona State, who we now know is not a great football team, especially when they're undermanned?
I'd say no, but when you're doing that well in a conference this big, you're going to be put high. No matter who you play, no matter who you beat, you're going to be put that high.
See, I just don't see them being a very good football team.
Yeah, I don't either, and especially when you beat Stanford 10-5 the week before the college football playoff rankings come out. I don't know how they're at 15 for that, but I mean they are in the Pac-12.
To me, I think it's only fitting. They haven't played a lot, but since they're in the Pac-12, they've been their fair share of teams. I think it's them to lose because the last 2 weeks of the season they play Washington State and then they play Utah, both at home. It's them to lose the rankings, and I like them where they are right now.
See, however, I don't like any of their wins, but I do like their 2 losses. Their 2 losses were Michigan and USC. Their first loss to Michigan, I had tweeted something saying, I predict final score being 40-23 or something like that. And I got backlash. People were like, if you think Colorado's going to put 23 points on Michigan, then you're out of your mind. They scored 28. So, yeah, they lost 45-28. I was almost there on the points, on the margin of the loss. But that's still against the number 4 team in the country in Ann Arbor. And their other loss was at USC. Granted, USC turned the ball over 3 times in the red zone, so could have been worse. But the fact that they went into the Coliseum and lost by 4, I think that shows that they're a team that, even though they were being totally outplayed, they are still capable of fighting and staying in games. Other than that, I mean, they have a game against UCLA at home. They have to go down to Arizona and then have Washington State and Utah at home. I think those last 2 games are both losses for them, which is why I think they end up falling out of the top 25. But, I mean, I'm not saying that they're extremely overrated. I just don't think that they're going to finish as high as everyone thinks they are.
I like where they are, so...
The full rankings are out. You can go look at them yourself. We would love to hear what you think about the rankings in the comments below, so let us know your thoughts. Who's overranked, who's underranked, who should be in the rankings. Personally, I think USC should be somewhere in the top 25, but we don't have 5 hours to talk about that. Sadly, no Heisman Watch this week because we got more to discuss, but Heisman Watch...
know Zane's going to win it.
Heisman Watch will be back next week with Zane Gonzalez still leading the way. So let's transition into the Q&A really quick, guys. About 130 so far comments and concerns people want us to answer. Let's just keep it to yes or no because we've pretty much explained everything there is to explain already. Here we go. Paul Minnick wants to know, do you see Michigan number 1 at the end of the season?
No.
No.
I didn't hear the question.
Do you see Michigan number 1 at the end of the season?
Number 1, no.
I don't think so.
After the Miami win, can you see Notre Dame making it to a bowl game?
No.
Prove me wrong, but right now, no.
Not a chance.
That was me laughing in disapproval.
They still have to go to the Coliseum, too.
No.
This is a great one from Sean McCarthy, and he says, committee rigged. Evidence of this is blatant with no Chattanooga in the top 10 or at least the top 25. Guys, is the committee rigged?
Just
Yes.
wait till the Bama game, bud.
Just the fact that Chattanooga's not in the top 1 is astounding to me. I don't understand.
I think the top 25 should be number 1, Chattanooga, 2 through 25, Zane Gonzalez.
I like
There you go. What 2-loss team has the best chance of making the playoff? Oklahoma, LSU, Auburn, Wisconsin.
As Jim Mora once said, playoffs.
There's no chance.
I'm going to say Auburn on that one.
Well, I don't think a 2-loss team's going to be in the playoff, but if there's going to be one, I'll say Auburn.
Like I said earlier, at number 8, Wisconsin has the best chance because of the Big Ten being the Big Ten. Now, when it's going through these questions, I found a really cool one because this past week, the ESPN released and the AP poll released their top 25 for college basketball, which is going to be starting up soon, and the new top 25 rankings for football came out as well. So, which college is the best football-basketball combo school in the nation?
Dibs on going first.
Spencer?
I say Kansas.
You are literally an idiot.
Stupid.
Fine. North Carolina. North Carolina by far.
I like Wisconsin.
For this year right now.
I like Wisconsin.
I'm going to say Louisville.
I think my top 25 is different because I don't see Chattanooga in the top 25, so I don't know. But, I mean, they said good ones. I mean, it's tough to really tell. I like that question though because that's a very, very insightful one.
Pick a team?
You can pick a team. I'll pick my team first, so you can do that.
Oh, gee, I wonder who you're picking.
Who am I picking?
You're picking the Hoosiers.
Wrong.
Wrong.
I'm gonna pick North Carolina.
North Carolina.
North Carolina.
Thanks for agreeing with me.
Oh, I like this question.
Number 6.
She
Hey,
wasn't my
real
daughter.
quick. Josh. Number 6 in basketball. Number 21 in football.
Number 1 in our hearts.
Ooh.
I know that's
Not really.
Indiana.
No, that's St. Gonzalez.
Speaking of St. Gonzalez, our next question comes from Nirit. I probably completely messed his name up, but he wants to know, how do you think St. Gonzalez will do in the NFL? And also, by the way, I love your show. Every week I'm excited to watch it. Thank you for entertaining me and making me have my own thoughts about college football. I'm so happy the show exists.
Thanks for watching.
Really quickly, St. Gonzalez will be the future Super Bowl MVP multiple times, greatest kicker of all time, greatest football player of all time.
No lie,
Say
though.
no more.
No lie, though. He'll get drafted and he will succeed.
I've said this to you guys, and you all sort of question it for a second. You're like, oh, that makes sense. This year, he will get drafted by one of 3 teams.
Cleveland.
No way. They're going to draft another quarterback. Come on. They're going to draft the Vikings because Blair Walsh. That's all I got to say there. The Raiders because Janikowski's older than, I don't even know how old he is. Or the Colts because Vinatieri's 40-something years old. And he will be progressed into replacing one of the best kickers of all time
All I know
if he gets drafted by either the Raiders or the Colts.
Is St. Gonzalez is going to lead the league in triple doubles.
Yeah, I see nothing.
Right.
I
Go
see
home,
nothing but
Spencer.
success from him in the NFL.
Here's a very good one. Do you think Tennessee has any shot of going to the SEC championship game?
Oh, dear Lord, no.
No chance.
No, but I really want to know why Spencer hates Tennessee.
Skip.
Will you
Another
tell us
time.
on the last show of this
On the
football
last
season?
show, you heard it here. I'm going to tell my story.
Yes.
Not because of you, Josh, because of the fans.
This is a very fun question. Which 2 teams do you think the committee would try to get to play in the national championship game so that way the NCAA could get more money?
It's a great question.
Alabama. Duh. Anyone else. As long as Alabama's in there, they're making a buttload of money.
Alabama.
Who
and
farted
Michigan.
first off? My God.
Definitely Bama, Michigan.
Damn it,
Alabama,
Josh.
Michigan.
Bama, it's
Me?
It's,
What are you talking
hey,
about?
It's,
Wasn't me.
it's Bama versus a Big Ten.
Oh, it does smell in here.
It's
It's Bama and Michigan.
It's
Bama,
Bama. It's Bama Big Ten.
Ooh, Bama, Michigan would be good. I would like to see Bama versus Louisville.
I'm going to say Texas A&M and Washington.
Oh, God damn it.
Kansas and Iowa State.
Do you
Chattanooga and Alabama. Sorry, go ahead.
Rematch.
Do you think San Diego State can make it to a New Year's Six bowl?
No.
No. Unfortunately, they can't because they're not even in the top 25.
They're not going to a
Say
New Year's
something
Six
worse.
Bowl.
No chance.
No way.
Oh.
Let's see. Now, this next one's not really a question. It's more of just a comment. And he just says, the Ducks won. LOL.
Shut up.
Ah, quack.
If ASU was at full strength, it would have been a rout.
Yikes.
I'll tell you this. Autzen Stadium is loud as hell.
We were on our 4th string quarterback, so nice job, Ducks.
What about Dylan?
I Do Crack wants to know, why couldn't Boise State beat Wyoming? I'll tell you why, because Boise State's overrated as hell, and Wyoming's actually a
first,
somewhat
don't
decent
do
Like I've
team.
been saying for weeks.
And it's actually the last question on the video, and I kind of like this one as well. How long until Miami is a playoff caliber team again?
Ooh!
They'll be good next year.
I think the competition Miami of Ohio plays in is very good.
Yes.
God damn it.
In all seriousness, Mark Wright is a very, very good coach.
Richt.
So I don't.
Mark Richt.
Okay, fine. However you want to say it. And
Oregon.
I think he can turn that program around in a few years.
I can say minimum of 5 years we get to start to see the rise of the U again.
I like it. I
I
like
think
it.
they're on the rise right now, and I think they'll be very good next year. Maybe not playoff caliber team, but easily top 15, I think.
Well, we tried our best to go through as many comments and questions as we could, but unfortunately, we don't have time to go for 130. But we do have time, gentlemen, for the Pick'em. Done. Now, the Pick'em is going to be a little extra special this week because we have a surprise guest in studio. Ladies and gentlemen,
St. Gonzalez!
Oh, we wish. Coming from the 4th floor of Taylor Place, welcome Chase to the studio. Chase, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How about you?
Oh, I'm doing well. Now, we gave you the Pick'ems. Are you ready to hopefully get all your picks right this week?
High five. Oh, yeah, you already know.
All right. Now, you do know that the winner gets a prize.
Oh, yeah.
What are they
I
getting?
don't know what it is.
The prize is yet to be determined, but they still get a prize. Now, gentlemen, let's begin. But first off, as we do every week, we do keep track of the ratings. And guys,
Oh my god, if I'm not in last place, I'm going to be so happy.
I mentioned last week in the show to Lyle that he should enjoy being in first while it lasted, and I hope you did, because there is a new leader in first, and it is yours truly, Harris Highlights, taking him over again with 35 to 34, a 1-point lead. That worst of the worst game, I'm the only one that got Arkansas State right, so that game was able to get me the point right there. But Lyle, it's okay, bud.
It's rigged.
Maybe you can keep it up and take me over this week. Yeah, right. But as I mentioned, I have 35. Lyle has 34. Coming in at third place is Spencer with 30 points. In fourth place, Josh.
Yes! There is no way! There is no way!
With
Thank you,
28
sorry.
points.
I'll
And
control
just
myself.
1 point behind, though, is Brady. So, Josh, I'd be careful if I were you, because
Got a good
Brady
game
is
over.
coming up on you. Guys,
We're gonna do well this
Did,
week.
did that Indiana win over Maryland just give me anything against Spencer?
Ow.
give you
Hey,
pride.
it got you a win against me.
All right, guys, let's get right into it. First game of the week I have here is Air Force at Army. Who wins that game?
I'm gonna go with Army. I think they won the uniform battle, so I'm gonna go with Army. Salute to service. Salute. I'm gonna go with Army. Go Black Knights.
I like Army too in this game.
And who's hosting?
Army.
Ooh, then I'll say Army.
I'm going Air Force.
And Chase, who is your pick going to be?
I got family in the Air Force. Go Air Force.
I like it. I'm going with Army. They have the third best defense in the country, only behind Florida and Michigan, so I think they stuff Air Force.
But how do you stop that triple option whatever Air Force runs? You don't.
Well, I guess we'll have to find out. But coming up next, we have Michigan State at Illinois. Battle of the 2 and 6 teams. Spencer?
Dibs. I hate U of I. Michigan State.
Woo!
I'm gonna go with Michigan State because although they're having a very disappointing year, this is the game where they kind of break out a little bit.
I hate you, U of I.
I think this could definitely be a momentum shifter for Michigan State, so I like the Spartans in this one.
Illinois lost to Purdue. Michigan State.
Michigan State landslide.
Michigan State as well. Notre Dame at Navy. Lyle, now you did say once Notre Dame got that win, you'd start picking them again. But the question is, does he keep his word?
Well,
They proved you wrong.
they did, and I'd really love to, but
Barely.
Oh, God.
watching them over the last few years play Navy and having no chance ever against that option. Every year they play Navy, and they never, ever stop that option. So I'm going Navy, especially this year since Notre Dame's defense has been atrocious.
See, this is really interesting because I had no idea. Even right now, talking, I didn't really know who I was going to pick. But you know what? I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to agree with Lyle. I'm going to take Navy. It's at Navy, right?
There's something about it's at Navy.
Yeah.
There's
I'm gonna
something
go
about
Navy.
military schools. It might be the military thing, but it's something about them. I'm going Navy in this one.
I don't like Notre Dame. I did pick them last week over Miami because I low-key saw that coming with Miami was on the downfall. But still, Navy's the much better team in this battle. Navy by a long shot.
Really?
Yes.
Since everyone else is going Navy, I got Notre Dame.
See, I like that, Chase. I do the same stuff every week, and unfortunately it always backfires with me. But
Hey, you're in first. You're in
This is
first.
turning
I
into
hear
a
it.
college game day show with
I-
a guest picker.
I am in first,
Not so
but
fast.
I did pick Notre Dame last week. That Navy, the way they run that offense, I think I told Josh, where like Navy literally passes the ball like 2 times a game. The rest is just a run play, but they somehow make it work. And they almost came back against South Florida.
They did.
By the way, which is another one I picked. But this isn't about me. This is about you guys. But I'm gonna go with
The
Navy in
show's
this one.
named after
Yeah, how come it's
you.
not called the You Guys Show?
Yeah.
It should be. It should be.
The You Guys podcast.
Texas at Texas Tech. Now, I think really quickly that this is going to be a great game because Texas linebacker Brecken Hager this
I
week
heard
came
about
out
this.
and said that he plans on injuring the quarterback. That's the mentality right now. We've got to take him out. We know he's banged up, and we've just got to get after him.
He later apologized.
Well, good for him. I still think it's a cheap comment. I think Patrick Mahomes is going to take note. I think Patrick Mahomes is going to have another career game. Maybe not for 800 yards at 90 passing attempts, but I think this is going to be a settlement statement, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to lead off right now, even though I don't normally. Texas Tech is going to destroy Texas this week. And Chase, I know it breaks your heart, hook 'em horns, but
Like I say every week, when it gets to the Texas Tech pick, if their defense wasn't asleep 100% of the time, I would pick them more often. But they simply can't play any defense to save their lives, so I have the Longhorns in this game.
See, as much as I want to pick pick T-Tech with Patrick Mahomes lighting up Texas. I can see Texas winning this game, even though it's at Texas Tech. So I'm going to go with Hook 'em Horns.
I think Patrick Mahomes, like we saw last week, like we saw the week before, like we saw the week before, like we saw the week before, can pick apart any defense with his arm. It might not be for a win, but look at the yards that he's put up. I mean, the dude...
He's
the dude
leading,
threw, what, 800
he's
yards
leading the
last
country
week?
by about 700 yards.
Holy hell. Yeah, he's kind of good. He's got a pretty good receiving core. Yes, battle of 4-4. Charlie Strong needs as many wins as he can get this year to keep his job safe, but I'm saying Texas Tech.
Yeah, I like the way that Mahomes has played. The defense, like Lyle said, somebody needs to make sure they wake up early for this game to make sure they're prepared and that they're actually awake for the game. But for that reason, I like the offensive battle in favor of the Red Raiders. So I'm going to go with T-Tech.
Hook 'em horns. Go Texas.
So insightful. We love it. Pittsburgh at Miami.
Dibs. So, last week,
What do you call dibs?
because I want to go first,
So just go.
last week I picked against Miami, and it worked. The superstition worked. It's at Miami, Coral Gables. I'm going to do it again. Pitt.
Games in Coral Gables, I'm going to go with the Hurricanes.
I think Miami's been on a total downfall, and I don't think it's going to stop this week. Pitt's a decently strong team, so I like Pitt.
I had Pitt winning the last couple of weeks when we had them in the pick'em, so I'm going to keep going with that. I say Pitt's going to win this game on the road.
Gotta have faith in you. Go Hurricanes.
I love James Conner and I love Pitt, but I love the U a little more at home.
Determined.
So I'm going to go with the U. Georgia Tech at North Carolina.
Tar Heels, plain and simple. Got to go with the Carolina Blue.
I like Ryan Switzer a lot, so I'm going to go with UNC.
I like the Tar Heels in this game.
Chapel Hill prevails on top. North Carolina.
If it was at Georgia Tech, I'd give it to Georgia Tech, but it's not. So I got the Tar Heels.
Speaking of Viking players in North Carolina, I know his first name's Mitch. I don't know what it's like T something, their quarterback. If he stays this year for his senior year,
You're going to be good.
he's going to be not only is North Carolina be a good team next year, he might be looking at the potential #1 overall pick and the Heisman if he stays, which I think he should.
Trubisky.
Yeah, that's a tough one to get, but I'm going with North Carolina in this one. Florida at Arkansas. Now, don't let the record fool you with Arkansas at 5-3 with Florida at 6-1.
Great game.
Could be a very, very trap game for Florida, but who comes out on top?
I don't think Florida's falling for the trap. Go Gators.
I like the way that Florida's been playing as of late. I'm still not totally sold on them, but with this game being on the road, I don't know. It's a big question mark, but I'm going to go with the Gators.
Like Josh just said, I don't have a ton of faith in Florida, but I don't think Arkansas is too strong of a team either. I like the Gators in this game. Their defense steps up.
I like the Gators as well.
Arkansas's 3 losses are coming from Bama, Auburn, and Texas A&M. Those are 3 good teams. I can't fault them for that. I got Arkansas.
Ooh, someone came
I like
prepared.
it.
I like Chase.
I
He's
like
got
that.
stats. He's going with the gutsy picks. I think Chase needs to be a regular on the show.
Who's getting replaced?
That's too hot.
Lyle's getting replaced.
Don't think so.
But I mean, I gotta go with. What,
Sorry, I took a Snapchat.
I gotta go with Florida in this game. BYU at Cincinnati. The Mormons versus the Harambes. Who wins?
No, we're leaving that in.
Leave that.
Wasn't it the Bearcats?
It's the Bearcats. Spencer just now got that, by the way.
I was thinking like Bearcat is not a gorilla.
All right.
Yeah,
Not gonna lie, I'm gonna go with BYU. I love my Mormons.
Me too.
I'll tell you this, Nippert Stadium is a great environment. It's a great place for a college football game. Very small. The stands are very close to the field. It gets very loud. I have Cincinnati in this game.
I like Cincinnati as well.
Cincy's going to pay for what they did to Harambe, so BYU.
Yeah, I think that Cincinnati are the Bearcats. Bears can't be cats. I got BYU.
That makes sense though. It's like the whole University of Arizona thing. Bear down, but you're at the Wildcats. What the hell does that
There's a
mean?
story.
There's actually a kind of cool story behind that.
Well, I'm sure it's a stupid one because UFA sucks, but as much as I love Harambe, our Lord Savior, may he rest in peace for eternity, I gotta go with BYU on this one. The Stormin' Mormons are coming in there. All right.
How many cougars do you find in Utah?
A lot because they're hot as. Oh, the animal. Anyway,
None of this should be edited
going to
out,
the
I
very
swear.
next game, we
Athletic
got
on
a
Tinder.
battle of the states. We got Oklahoma State against Kansas State.
I have Oklahoma State in this one. I think they're a much better team than K-State, even though 6-2, 5-3, whatever. I have Oklahoma State winning this game.
Go Pokes. Much better team.
I like the Cowboys.
I agree with you on that one. I think Mason Rudolph's a really, really good quarterback who hasn't gotten a lot of attention. I like Oklahoma State in this game.
I don't care how good Mason Rudolph is. K-State goes with the win.
See, either next week Chase is just gonna have a huge lead against all of us, or he's just gonna be in dead last.
You
There's
hit
no
every single
in-between.
one of them right.
So we're gonna have a guest picker every week, right?
Oh yeah, we
so
are.
what?
Yeah.
I like what Chase is doing. So our guest picker next week's really gonna have to live up to the hype because
Yeah.
it's a high standard.
Yeah.
High standard.
I try.
I gotta go with Oklahoma State in this one though. They should be 7-1 after that Hail Mary disaster, whatever it is. We got Florida State at NC State.
I like the way that Florida State played in their loss last week to Clemson at home. So heading on the road this week, yeah, they're 5-3, but they're a pretty good 5-3. So I got to go with the Noles.
I like Florida State in this one. Jimbo Fisher damn near got kicked out of the game last week because there were so many penalties, a lot of stuff going on at the end of the game. I think Florida State's going to win this one pretty easily.
Dalvin Cook has been lighting it up the last 5 games. And like Josh said, Florida State played very, very well in their loss last week to Clemson, and I think they bounce back from it and get a win this week. Go Noles.
I think Florida State's going to absolutely destroy the Wolfpack. No question.
No question.
No. Okay.
Francois has a career day. Go Noles.
Everything's a go. Go Noles.
I almost had the upset last week when I picked Florida State to beat Clemson. Spencer was with me
You and
too.
me
We
both.
almost had it. They showed signs of being good again. I think they're going to ride this out. I think they're going to absolutely, like Spencer said, destroy NC State. Memphis at SMU.
This is a great game.
Wow, 2 teams I know a lot about.
Now SMU did take down Houston, guys.
It's a joke.
They did.
It's a joke.
You know, this is a very interesting game for me.
I'm gonna go
which is-
Mustangs.
Which is what good. I didn't-
SMU.
SMU at home.
I did not want to pick first.
SMU, I got first pick.
I picked for former ASU offensive coordinator Mike Norvell, who's now the head coach at Memphis. I picked them a few weeks ago and they let me down, so I'm going to go ahead and go with the Mustangs. SMU at home.
I like Memphis in this game.
Home field advantage in college football. Like I said, go SMU.
Got to give it to home field advantage. I like your analysis there. But Memphis.
Wait, I just got that.
Oh. I picked Memphis a few weeks ago. They let me down, so hopefully this is the redemption week, so I'm going to go with Memphis. Nebraska at Ohio State.
Both teams are 7-1. Nebraska had a disappointing loss last week, but that was a great game to watch. I like the Huskers, but I'm going to have to go with the Buckeyes at home at the Horseshoe in Columbus.
I still think that despite what the rankings say, in my mind, the Buckeyes are still a top 4 team in the country, and I think they show it this week against Nebraska, so I like Ohio State.
Ohio State's winning this game, no doubt.
OHIO. State.
Thank God.
Y'all sleeping on Armstrong Jr. He's going to light up the Ohio State defense. Go Huskers.
I would
I
love
am
to see
loving this Chase guy. Now, guys, really quick, I'm just going to talk about these games. Nebraska, they beat Wyoming, who beat Boise State, who's, not a rollover. Oregon, who I think is still underrated, even though they're god-awful. Northwestern, and their loss.
How does that make sense? They are god-awful, but they're underrated.
And they lost a close game to Wisconsin. Ohio State did beat Oklahoma, but they barely beat Northwestern. And they had a close game against Wisconsin with a loss to Penn State. I like Nebraska in this game. I'll be 100% honest. Ohio State has...
I'm hoping you would be.
Wow.
Well, thank you. As am I. I think Nebraska takes this game.
I would love for Tommy Gunn Armstrong to prove me wrong. I want to see the Huskers win. I'm going to pick with my mind in this one.
What an intimidating mascot.
The
A
Huskers?
corn husker.
What about a Buckeye?
It's a nut. Okay, you got me there.
Speaking of nuts, Penn State versus Iowa is this week. And,
Oh my god, I'm tapping out, guys. I'm tapping out. Oh my god.
I don't think Penn State. I don't think Penn State tapped out.
Oh god.
who is winning that game this week, guys?
Penn State. They're going to show why they're ranked at 12. They're going to light up Iowa.
I like Penn State in this one.
I like Penn State.
Iowa's a strong team, but despite Penn State being a little overrated in my mind, I still think they are the better team, so I like the Nittany Lions.
Barkley's approaching up on 900 yards, got 10 touchdowns. Penn State.
We got a one-sided over here. I'm going with Iowa in this game. I think Penn State is overhyped. They had a good win against Ohio State, but then again, is Ohio State that good of a team? Whereas Nebraska is going to come in and beat them. We shall see. Georgia at Kentucky.
I'm going to go with the talent. I think Georgia is the more talented team, which is why they are going to beat the Wildcats on the road.
Having a healthy Nick Chubb back's been big for them. Jake Eason's been pretty good for a true freshman, so I like the Bulldogs in this game.
I think Nick Chubb's going to run all over.
You said it perfectly well. A healthy Nick Chubb is the key to the success for this team. I say Georgia on this one.
I'm going to say Georgia. Better team overall.
I'm with everyone else here. I got Georgia.
I got Georgia as well.
I was waiting for Kentucky.
Oregon at USC.
Dibs. I'm going to pull a Spencer. So, guys, I'm flying home to LA this weekend. Not going to the game. Yeah, you know. So, USC's going to be fired up. It's homecoming. They're coming off of a bye
It's a
week.
late homecoming.
It is a late homecoming, but they're coming off not a bye week. They're coming off of a long week. They played last Thursday. SC is now playing like a top 25, maybe even a top 15 ranked team right now. I got the Trojans big.
Not so fast. Just kidding. I have USC by a lot in this game.
Oh, look. Here I go. Choosing USC again. I'm sad.
High five.
I was able to watch Oregon this past week. Their quarterback, Justin Herbert, granted he was going against ASU's, I don't even know the word to describe their defense.
It's not
secondary.
defense. That is.
He threw for 489 yards.
Against the worst secondary
But
I've
still,
ever seen.
as a true freshman, that's pretty impressive. But USC, after, like I keep saying, that Alabama loss, they just easily put that behind them. They forget about it every week they play. USC is going to win.
And by the way, Max Brown now is looking to transfer out. He's pretty much done.
Yeah,
in SC.
I would too, because and it's all because Sam Darnold is
killing
not,
it.
He's not getting enough attention.
He's been great.
Sam Darnold is a player that I think maybe not next year, but could eventually compete for a Heisman.
Oh no, even next year
This
I
guy,
think.
he's incredible what he's done.
He is a dual threat quarterback, but we don't see him run the ball that often because of the incredible athletes that USC has on both sides of the ball.
He had a rushing touchdown on the road before Christian McCaffrey did.
He did.
There you go.
He did.
Oregon played a pathetic offense in ASU last week. They're going to get used to playing bad teams. Then USC is going to stomp them.
I like
the pick chase.
I like USC as well. I don't think there's any way Oregon's within 3 touchdowns in the final score. Now, we do have one actual good game to talk about, but since ASU unfortunately has a bye week this week, we're going to save it till after this next one. The worst of the worst. Which, of course, is the worst of the worst. The one game of the week that has 2 teams that are so god-awful you cannot pay any of us to watch it. We're not sure who is watching or who's going to be at the game, but unfortunately this game does have to be played for scheduling purposes. Now, guys, that game this week is, of course, Florida Atlantic University at 1-7 at the 1-7 University of Rice. Now, hands are going up. Who wants to go first?
I'm going to go first in this one because I talked first.
All right.
You guys just got to start talking. So, our dorm, Taylor Place, has a really good Chinese place in it, and they make some really good fried rice. So for that reason, I'm going to go with the Owls.
FAU and Rice.
Wait, what? Oh, wait,
They're both the Owls. They're
Rice.
both the Owls.
Oh, wait, that is right. I'm going to go with the Rice Owls because of the Chinese food reference I made. Because I'm hungry. Rice Owls. Rice. Thank you.
Roadhouse.
Go ahead, Lyle.
FAU and Rice. Well, I hate Rice. So FAU.
Wait, the food or the school?
Both.
Well, I was in the store earlier today, strolling around, knocked over an old lady. It was great. Look to the left, see some sushi. I'm like, oh, rice. That sounds really good. So, I'm going to go with rice in this game just because I'm a big sushi fan. I like where you're coming with that, Josh.
Not going to lie, Florida Atlantic has been on this worst of the worst before, and I've picked them, and I've lost. So, Florida Atlantic, you have let me down. Go Rice!
But they can redeem you this week.
No, you've let me down, FAU Owls.
FAU Owls, not the Rice Owls.
Correct.
Thanks, Josh.
Just to clarify.
Now hear me out for this one. Rice has 4 letters in it. FAU has 3 letters in it. The Warriors blew a 3-1 finals lead. I got Rice.
No, I got another game to propose before we do this.
But I didn't even get to pick my pick yet.
Go, you do yours. I did this to you like 2 weeks ago. Go ahead, Blake.
Well, I actually did my research for this one, and
Oh, God.
FAU has lost by a total of 150 points, and Rice has lost by a total of 146 points. However, FAU does have more close games, so for that reason, I'm going with FAU.
Go Owls.
Go Owls. Ain't the best owl.
I'll give you $1,000 if the Owls don't win.
Sounds like a plan.
Now this next game, I will give you $10,000 if this team loses this week. Chattanooga is on a bye.
I saw that, unfortunately.
I'm not paying.
Their next game is against Alabama.
Coming off
They're
of a
gonna
bye week,
prepare.
they're gonna be hot. Hey, you gotta tell what you saw this week.
Oh yeah, speaking of Chattanooga really quick, well, first of all, every day I'm getting some sort of Twitter thing saying don't sleep on Chattanooga from
Follow me
someone,
on
but
Twitter,
it's great.
SPX09.
But I got probably the absolute greatest message this week on Twitter. And really quickly, I just want to give the shout out. It comes from Alex Fernandez. And so pretty much, he sent me this photo. I'm going to put the photo on the screen. And basically he said, so my teacher is a Bama fan, had to leave a message, hashtag don't sleep on Chattanooga. And I think this is the greatest thing ever. Here's the photo for those of you who haven't seen, but pretty much he just left a little note and put it on the desk of the teacher saying don't sleep on Chattanooga. Guys, it's a movement, okay? It has been a great movement. If Chattanooga gets this win,
We're going viral.
We're going viral.
we are going to be the...
Help us go viral.
So
We're going to get an easy 25,000 subscribers. And you know what that's going to get?
We're going to get a plaque.
Gonna get Blake a plaque.
But
It's gonna give me a couple of followers on Twitter. Follow
shout
me
out
at
to Alex.
SPX09.
That was awesome.
Maybe we'll get on highly questionable, guys.
See or no?
I am not going on
Oh,
that.
see, I'm very intrigued. Okay.
Brady, what was it you wanted to say?
The Lebatard show Sundays.
So, Chattanooga has a bye this week. Arizona State has a bye this week. Why not meet in the middle, match these two teams up? Why not play this week?
We would lose.
We would get
You're
annihilated,
probably right.
Brady. My goodness. I don't want to get embarrassed on live television.
We have multiple times.
In prime time. All right. Well, enough of Chattanooga. Like I said, normally this is when we go to the ASU game, but sadly we are on a bye this week, and my God, do they deserve a bye? Well, they don't deserve a bye. They need a bye because they have been playing like they are on a bye because they have been non-existent.
They have like 10 starters who are injured. We need this bye.
Now, this is without a doubt the game of the week. Alabama at LSU. Guys, can Alabama be taken down this week?
Yes, they can be taken down. Death Valley is a hostile environment, but LSU has a healthy Leonard Fournette back this week. It's going to be a very tough Tigers team. However, Alabama is the number one team in the country for a reason. I think Jalen Hurts gets the job done in Baton Rouge. I'm going to go with Bama.
I'm saying Alabama on this one, but this season there hasn't been such thing as a healthy Leonard Fournette, and he's not going to be healthy in this game. He's going to be playing at 90% because of the injuries that he's been going through. Those are tough ones to overcome. He will be playing his hardest, but I don't think he'll be playing to his full capability.
So you're saying that 284 yards and 3 touchdowns isn't at full capacity? Because I sure think it is. And here's what I'm saying. I'm going to be contradicting myself the whole year and saying that LSU is beating Alabama. And this Saturday, I'm going to be wearing my LSU jersey and hoping for the best because I feel like this week's record for the Pick'ems is not going to go well for me. So I'm going to need everything I'm going to have.
Yes.
So,
It's Go Tigers.
No,
It's spelled weird.
G-A-U-X
knows.
Tigers.
Go
Yeah.
Tigers!
That was embarrassing.
Spencer has an LSU jersey? Man, there's another team to his list. Well,
Can you edit that part out?
No.
Continue, Lyle.
anyway, I like Bama in this game, but like you guys already touched on, in Death Valley, with Burnett back and playing well, LSU keeps it close, but I think Bama does pull out a win. Chase?
I don't think LSU keeps it close at all. Bama just steamrolls over them.
This past week, Tigers defensive back Dwayne Thomas came out and said, I really see us dominating this offense. I really see us dominating this team. Now, LSU's only losses this year have been at Auburn, which came down to that final controversial play at the very end, and at Wisconsin at that last second interception. So this team could easily be undefeated. They are at home. I think this comment is going to rally the team up. You said Leonard Fournette's not healthy. After last week's game, I think he is healthy. I love the rivalry game. I love where this is going. Bama, you're scaring me, but I'm going with LSU Tigers in this game. I think they take it. Alabama's only favored by a touchdown, so
High
we'll
five,
see.
Blake.
But I like that. I like that pick. Now, really quickly, before we get into any other things, as we do every week, Spencer chooses the newest team which he is a fan of. Per Twitter mentions, Instagram DMs, you name it. Spencer, what team are you a fan of this week?
The first team I have is from Andrew Thomas Martin and Andrew the ATM. And he said, you need to root for the Tennessee Tech Golden Eagles.
Ooh.
So I can be a fan of that. Oh, this guy's name is Juicy Lucy. Oh, I love it. And he says...
Oh, God, the juice is loose.
Too soon.
In his Bronco. Sorry.
Too soon.
Sorry.
Adrian...
Fight on, baby.
Adrian College Bulldogs fan.
Ah,
He attached a picture.
I like that. Ooh, and they got clean jerseys.
okay.
That's a cool graphic.
Uni-Watch?
I like it. Uni-Watch? Who else do you got this week? Really quickly, I actually got a team as well.
No, it's my thing. Don't steal
I
my
know,
thing.
but this comes from Blake, and he says he needs a fan of the Denison Yellow Jackets this week because they are going into the rivalry game against the Sherman Bearcats, which is the biggest high school rivalry in Texas. So hey,
Oh, yeah.
Denison Yellow Jackets, good luck, you guys. Well, if there is a team that you love that
Edit that
feels
part
needs
out.
an extra fan, Spencer's Twitter and Instagram DMs are always open. The link will be in the bio or on the screen right now. Actually, it is on the screen right now as we speak.
Boom, there
So
it is.
right now, go send him whatever team you like, and
dope that ad
maybe
name
you'll
is.
make it on the show next week.
It's so cool. Look at that.
All right, no came at the end of the show, but we did not forget about it, and that is Uni-Watch, the portion of the show where we pick the best uniforms of the past week. As per usual, we cannot pick Arizona State, which, oh my goodness gracious,
Beautiful.
if you did not see their uniforms
Told
this
you.
weekend, you missed out. And the funny thing is, you can go to like episode number 1, and Brady said in that episode that the game against Oregon, the uniforms are going to blow us away, and my God, did they ever do that. Best uniforms of the college football season, no bias, all truth, but unfortunately, we can't pick them. So Josh, who had the second best uniforms this weekend in college football?
Well, this is a toss-up for me, but I'm only going to pick one. But I'll shout out Central Florida. I thought their uniforms were stellar. I love the weird graphic of the horse or the knight on the shoulder. It looked really great. However, I'm going to go with Baylor. I love Baylor's uniforms. I think Baylor has the best in college football with the silver helmet, the white jersey, and the silver pants. Loved them. But again, shout out to Central Florida. I liked them both. I was a big fan of the silver this week.
This week I was a big fan of the Oregon State uniforms. That was my pick for the week.
I'm gonna go with the UTSA Roadrunners. Nice hair, Blake. The UTSA Roadrunners in this game, they're really cool, all gray, sort of looked like those Tennessee ones from earlier in the year. But their helmet was a shiny black with a chrome Roadrunner on the side of it. Really cool, really great conceptual logo.
As much as I hate U of I,
You're from there.
I'm not from Champaign. I'm from Schaumburg.
Chicago.
Chicago.
He's from Chicago.
I love their jerseys. I'm used to the white with orange, but they went with the black and gray concept, and oh man, did it pull through. It looked great. That's my 2 cents.
I gotta give it to Syracuse Orange. They had the beautiful gray and orange unis this week. Something I've never seen before. Go Syracuse.
I like South Florida's this week. I said it right when I saw them, and I stuck with it ever since. They had some sort of, it was like a pixelated type thing they had the helmets, but I liked on the helmet how it was like on the bottom portion of the helmet.
Yeah.
Like it was, the logo was like finishing off midway through near the bottom.
Kind of like it fell.
Huh? Yeah,
looks like it fell.
I like that though, and the unis were looking great, and also they beat Navy, which I had in the pick'em as well. So extra points to them. That was my favorite
This
uni
was
of
a
the week.
tough week for Uni.
It was. There
There were 5 teams.
This was the best Uni-Watch without a doubt.
No.
Now, before we wrap up the show, we would like our in-guest picker, Chase, just to give his 2 cents on anything he'd like to say about the college football world. Chase, what do you have to say about college football this week, next week, the whole season, or anything you'd like to touch up on?
Last week?
If Donnell Pumphrey is not on your Heisman Watch top 5, I don't know what you're doing in your life.
Where are you from?
It's unrelated, but I'm from San Diego.
And that explains it all. Well, Chase, thank you so much for stopping by this week. Hopefully, we can get you on the show again real soon. We'll let you know how your picks did.
I genuinely appreciate this offer. It's been a privilege, and can't wait to do it again.
Now, don't worry, ladies. If you do want to find Chase on social media, his information will be in the section below. Also, guys, I looked up our stats. We're not as bad as we thought. We're an 8% female audience.
All right.
8%.
Bringing in the ladies.
Hey, ladies. How's it going?
Unfortunately, that has to wrap up this week's episode of the show. Number 6 has come and gone. Another great time, guys. Another great time. Lots to discuss. Next week, probably even more. We'll see how this week turns out. If all of our pick'ems come out, well, all of mine and Chase's pick'ems come out correctly, we have a lot to discuss next week as the rankings will be shooken up. Chase, as I mentioned, thanks for coming by. I think we already did this, though, but I'm doing it just in case we messed it up earlier because we had to get into the Uni-Watch. But let's give him another round of applause just in case the hair's looking flopped. You're definitely going to be back because, God, who else is going to be a guest on the show? If you want to talk college football with us, all of our Twitters are in the bio below. We love doing it. Lyle, did you get any messages this week from anyone or any follows?
Not this week, but I'm still waiting on it.
All right, one day it'll come. Someone give Lyle a follow request and we'll give you a shout out.
If you listen, subscribe. Remember that.
Yes, listen, subscribe.
Yeah, if you're not subscribed right now, I don't know what you're doing because here at Harris Highlights, we run the #1 college football highlight channel on YouTube. If you can't listen to the show on YouTube, we're on SoundCloud, so that link is in the bio as well. And we are still making an attempt to come to iTunes. Brady sent me a link. I'm going to try to figure out how to get onto iTunes because a lot of people want to know. So we're going to try to figure that out. But let's have a great weekend of college football. Go team, go. Go sports. Have a great one. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.